What's up, you guys? So I kind of want to start my journey on telling my testimony of what led me to Christ. And I know I said in a video prior to this that it started when I was young, but I want to speak on what led to my journey in Christ as of recently. Okay, so in my last video I stated how God called me, and I noticed that he kept calling me, but at the time I didn't know that's what that was. I felt a tugging, a pulling to go to church. What God does is he downloads his thoughts into us. So he'll give you a desire on your heart, which is the tugging and the pulling. So if you're feeling led, that's what that is. That's God speaking to you. So I didn't answer the call quite a few times, and it was a part of my testimony. I'm gonna go back and start from the beginning, from when I was a child, so I can explain to you how I was as a child, so it could better explain to you how I know that I was meant for the call. That was the confirmation. But starting in 2018, I'm gonna go a little bit farther back. I met this guy, and I spoke about this in a video before too, in the beginning of my YouTube. I met this guy on Easter Sunday at my house at a cookout that I had for me and my family. My cousin brought him, and I was in a relationship with him. I'm not gonna go into details of that, but we were together for almost 3 years. During that time, I was so broken that I shouldn't have been dating. I healed from different relationships as far as I knew how. So I will think or believe that I was healed enough to get into another relationship, but I wasn't healed enough to be with that person, if that makes sense. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't listening to sad music. I didn't feel that sickness in the pit of my stomach or anything like that. So I felt like I was pretty much ready to move on. And when I got with him, I haven't been in a relationship for years before him, because I wouldn't allow people to get close to me. But in that, I broke a lot of hearts. And when I did that, I carried that guilt of how I broke hearts. I don't want to say I treated them some type of way, because I didn't, but I never stuck it out with anybody. So when I was with him, carrying all that guilt, I used to lash out a lot. He would do stuff to me, typical toxic relationship stuff, cheat on me, talk to me and say really mean, harsh things and stuff like that. But I was kind of confused in that relationship, and I say I'm not gonna get into details, but it was I don't know if he did it intentionally, but I believe he did. He played on my mental a lot, and it broke me like a shattered glass. Imagine having a glass that broke and you glued it back together with super glue, right? And you fill this cup up with, let's just say, hot water, tea water. That glass is not gonna hold that hot water. You know what I'm saying? Glass, really, you wouldn't typically put hot water in glass, a regular clear glass anyway, and that's not a coffee mug. So imagine if it had already broken and you put it back together with some super glue, and then you poured that hot water into it. So it was like a pipe ready to burst, but the pipe wasn't built from steel, it was built from glass. That's how I was. That's how I could explain me. So when he was doing everything he was doing to me, I was already broken, barely holding the water in the glass, and it just burst. And when I burst, I never been that broken in my life. So when we had our toxicity towards the end of the relationship or whatever, they're going back and forth, it was like I was starting to have revelations. I didn't know what it meant. I just know I started to feel like I'm having a lot of aha moments. Like, God is waking me up and showing me things. Like, I just told somebody this the other day. I kept asking God, who is he cheating on me with? I used to be in my car like, where is he at? Who is he cheating on me with? God, just show me. Because I know he's cheating, but I don't know who he's cheating with. But as long as I could just see it, if I could just see him with the girl, I'll know it's time to move on. But God's like, no, just move on. Like, you don't need closure. That is the hardest part about relationships, especially when it's like when you have like a really strong soul tie to somebody, is not having closure. And I don't even know where that come from, like why we feel like we have to have closure. But I'm human. I still feel like that. I feel like when you give people closure in life, and it's just communication, when you give people a closure in life, it helps them to move on. But I felt like I needed to see him cheating to believe that this was really going on, when I know, but my intuition was telling me, I know the signs, I knew everything I was doing. But because this was my first relationship in so long, I really didn't even know how a relationship was supposed to operate. Like, I was confused on a lot of things. I just wasn't where I needed to be mentally to know, like, this is not it. So the funny thing is, the person that God showed me he was cheating with is someone very, very, very close to me, right? And I was begging God in my car, pulling up at bars and stuff, like wherever I thought he was at, like, God, show me, God, show me, God. And literally God was showing me. The person was right in front of my face. But I'm telling God, like, I'm not gonna react. I'm not gonna fight her. I'm not gonna hit him. I'm not gonna act crazy. I'm not gonna do nothing. Just show me, right? God knows your thoughts, okay? He knows you better than you know you. And you can't outsmart God. You can't. Like, you just can't. So it was kind of silly for me to say that, not knowing what I'm capable of, because I'm thinking it's just some random female. You know, I'm not thinking that the person is someone close to me. I'm not thinking it's like that. So God knew, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had that post on Instagram and say, God heard conversations in rooms that you never stepped foot in. So that means that you didn't hear the conversation. So you don't know how people really feel about you. I didn't know who was really backstabbing me. So how could I say I won't react if I don't know who the person is? Like, now that I know who it was, I know I would have reacted, because it would have been a double whammy and I wouldn't have been able to handle that, like, especially knowing who it is now. But now I asked God recently, like, why did you wait till now to reveal it to me? He said you are at a spiritual maturity to where you can handle that type of information. So the brokenness, how broken I was at my lowest. I've probably never been that low in my life. That's what started me to heal myself. I was starting to pray before we broke up, because I kept feeling he basically was bringing demons to me, like spirits to me, and I would have to pray the house down. Like, I could feel it in the house. Like, I used to just feel like we were gonna die every day. Like, I'll be fine with me and the children at home, but when he would come in, I just felt like a heavy aura, like something wasn't right. And I didn't know how to pray, but God shows you stuff throughout your life, flashes. My aunt, when we would go out of town when we was kids, my aunt would pray the house down, because we would come from, I'm not going to say where I'm from. I don't know if I did, but our city, and they were 2 hours away in another city, and we'll come over there. But when I think about it now, we probably had spirits on us from our parents, other children, daycares, whatever. I don't know. But she would get a sense of it, and God would just tell her to, like, pray over us. And she would just walk through the house speaking in tongues. And we were so immature. We were teenagers, but we were like, she talking in that weird voice again. And she coming through the room. Oh, did you see her coming in the room? Like, it was funny to us. That's how immature we were. And we didn't know God. We didn't know Christ. We didn't know tongues. We didn't know anything. And I was kind of sort of raised in the church. I still didn't know what that was. So I had flashbacks of how my aunt used to do that. And that's what taught me in the spirit, God had me go back to that thought, like, okay, remember how Auntie used to pray the house down when things weren't right? Do that. And I would just pray over the whole house, walk through the whole house. I would lay my hands on his head, lay my hands on his body, lay my hands on my children, and all of that. And I would just be up to like 4 a.m. doing this. So that was like starting me without even knowledge of. After that, what happened? We broke up. We went our separate ways. We barely ever talked unless it was about the kids. So when I was healing, I first started healing when I started to do research on different diets for me and my children, like to eat healthier. During that process, I felt like spiritually I was coming into my higher self over and over. Like I was being reborn again, literally, like rapidly. Like I would feel different every month. The longer I ate healthy, and I didn't really work out, but we would take long walks and stuff like that. Like the more I did it, the more better I felt. Like I just had more energy. I was loving myself more. I started to look better to myself. So that started to heal me from the inside. Like it made me start accepting myself, because in my brokenness in a relationship, I started to hate myself when I didn't hate myself before I met him. So I'm getting back to me, but I'm bypassing who I was before I met him. Now I'm a whole nother Brittany. Like I'm just bypass that. So in that healing journey, I wanted to become a better person. And I remember praying one night, like, God, I know that something wasn't right with that last relationship. And it wasn't just him. It takes two. And he would repeat all the time, like, I'm not the one who broke you. I'm not the one who broke you. And I used to be like, I'm not broken. I don't know what you're talking about. But for him to say that, he must have saw something from his perspective that I was already broken before I got with him. Either I was accusing him too much of stuff he wasn't doing. I was crying too much. I don't know. But in that, I felt like I needed to grow and heal. I can't go back to who I was before him. That wasn't enough. Because if it was enough, I would have been married to him in a healthy relationship. So now I got to go back to the Brittany I was when I first met him and heal her. So, I had to do a lot of inner work. I was on this great path, right? And a lot of people started following me with that. Like people started to do the same diet I was doing. I was posting content on my social medias, breaking down every day what I was doing. I was saying different mantras and different affirmations and things like that to lift my spirits. I started to get dressed more. I didn't typically do that in a relationship with him. I started to lose myself. I gained so much weight. I used to walk around the house with big t-shirts on and just look whatever because I got too comfortable. And, sorry, somebody pulled up behind me. I don't have a clue who it is. But, yeah, so I just started to, like, heal from that. And then, like, people started following me and I felt like I had to keep it going. So this went on for, like, 8 months. After that, I felt like I was at a place where I healed enough to start dating because I'm like, I'm older now. I have 2 children. I'm in my 30s. I felt like that biological clock started ticking and I just needed to start dating. Like, I just felt like I was in a good place to do it. Way better than I was when I met him. Way better than I ever been in life, really. So I was dating certain people who I knew wasn't for me. Like, you have to really trust your intuition. Like, that is, like, key. And I would get intuitions about certain guys, and I would still keep talking to them. And I used to just feel like, well, as long as I'm not doing this or that with them, I'm just going on dates that's harmless. But it is, because it derails you off your path. And I dated I dated, like, 3 guys. And now it was, like, a course of 3 years. Seriously. One was the devil himself. He fully operated in the spirit of Satan. Like, I even asked him, was he the devil? And he bust out laughing in this wicked type of laugh. But he was like kind of telling me over time, but I was so, I don't want to say naive. I was so asleep that I didn't catch the things he was telling me. Like, he was giving me point, like, that I operate like this, and this is who I am. And I wasn't catching it. I have to tell a testimony about him that is so bizarre that's going to blow y'all socks off. So I left him alone. We dated for like 3-4 months. I dated a guy after him. When I even told the next guy, like, I'm not ready to date. But we went on a couple of dates and stuff like that. We talked on the phone a little bit. And I was slowly starting to get comfortable to the point that I really had wanted him to meet my children. And we dated for some months as well. With him, because of the conversation, and I wasn't spiritually fed by anybody or knowledge fed by any other guy in the conversations we were having and how we were, I formed a strong soul tie to him, like super strong soul tie to him. But something in my spirit kept saying, something's not right with this guy. I was getting the same feeling that I had, but not as intense with the other guy. And it could have just been that he wasn't for me. It didn't even have to be him per se, because the other guy, you could look at him and tell something wasn't right. This guy, it seemed like he had a good spirit, but it just wasn't the right timing. So with him, when we stopped dating, he kept ghosting me. That was like my first video I spoke on my YouTube about. I was speaking to people in relationships, but it came from me learning about ghosting through him. I didn't even know what ghosting was. But it did something to my spirit. I started to feel that breaking feeling again. Like, I'm getting broken. Like, why did he keep ghosting me? But also, I'm like, I don't really know this guy, so why am I feeling like this? So I started to become confused. And what happened in that confusion is I waited around. Like, I used to feel like, well, I'm going to stay on my journey. I'm going to drink my teas. I'm going to drink my smoothies. I'm going to still post. I'm going to still be a good mom. I'm going to still do hair and do these things and just keep busy so that when he comes back, I'm still in my walk, like I'm still spiritually growing and things like that. I don't want to get derailed and not still be the girl he met, But God do not like how we are when we idolize relationships or the person that we desire to be in a relationship with. I didn't know God at the time. I knew that there was a higher power. I knew that someone was protecting me and things like that. And I used to pray to God, but I never really called on the name of Jesus. I never said his name much, like I would say God so much. Never really called Jesus' name. Never knew who Jesus was. Never read about Jesus. Never heard a story too much about Jesus. Never knew. When I was dating him, I remember like waking up one day and I just was different. It was the call. It was so intense. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I just felt like I was under heavy spiritual warfare and my prayers wasn't working, and my prayers be working. So I'm like, something ain't right. I need to go to somebody who I feel like is spiritually mature. So I ran to my grandmother. I said, Grandma, something is going on with me and I can't sleep. I cannot eat. It's something attacking me. Like, I can't see it, but I can feel it. And I just I was under heavy spiritual warfare. Like, I can't even explain it, but I know I didn't sleep. From that point, I didn't sleep really good through the night for like 3 months. I was having constant nightmares. I felt like I was having nightmares awaken. After that, my grandmother wasn't that much of a help to me. She was telling me to make sure I can just hear from God clearly. I ran to my mom's house and grabbed a Bible. And I literally started reading and didn't understand nothing I was reading. But I was like, as long as I get the word in it and I can just read it, maybe God will be happy, or maybe he'll I could find something in here that'll tell me what this is or what's going on. I just need a word. And God did not lift that off of me for a while. You hear me? Like, he loved that I came to him. Like, he loved that I was seeking him. So as long as I was in spiritual warfare, like, if he would have lifted that off of me and I would have slept good through like one night, I would have been like, okay, it's broken. Because I even felt that way when I went to my church and had my pastor pray over me. I went to the church I grew up at, and I got baptized, that I went back and I was like telling the preacher, like, something's not right. I can't sleep. Something's on me. I feel like something's going on. And he literally prayed over me. And for a few hours, I felt peaceful. Like, I felt like whatever it was, it went away. But I called my mom like a few hours later. I think I took a nap or something. Finally got some sleep, and I called my mom like, it did not work. It's back. It's back. Like, whatever this is on me, it's just back. And that wasn't enough. So I had to like open a Bible myself. When I opened a Bible myself, that's when I started to get revelations, like literally detailed revelations. Like God was clearly speaking to me through the Bible. And I was just saying, like, reading things. And what he did first, he led me to the book of Exodus. And he showed me about Moses helping deliver his people from bondage. Because that is what he was preparing me for, to be one of his teachers and leaders, to lead his people, to feed his sheep and lead them out of bondage. Didn't know that's what that was about to be. Didn't know. Just read it. I fell in love with the story. Like, I love reading. I love stories. And I told my mom, I was like, I never knew the Bible was full of because I'm calling them stories. I'm like, I never knew the Bible was full of stories that's so interesting. I can't even put the book down. So because I couldn't sleep, I'm staying up all night. And if I can't sleep, I might as well just study the word. So I can still feel the spirit over me, like something just attacking me, to the point that I even got into 2 car accidents in a matter of 2 days. I was sleep deprived. I was tired. And now I know what that is. It was the enemy messing with me so much, because he does it sometimes now, but I know how to get out of spiritual warfare. I'm just getting a little hot. So he kept me up. And when an enemy wants to attack you, he's going to keep you up and not allow you to get rest, or make you so busy you don't give yourself proper rest. Because when you don't have proper rest, you don't hear from God clearly. Like, your discernment is so off and unbalanced. And that is what was happening. That is what was happening to me. Calm down. Okay. So when I read Exodus first, I think the next story, or the next book, I'm not going to say story, the next book I read was Job. I never to this day finished the whole book of Job. It is so long. But I kind of cheated after I was getting frustrated. Like, what's the end of the story? What's the end of the story? I looked it up on YouTube and pulled up like a narrated, cartoonish type of story to know the ending. So I'm like, Job lost everything. All this stuff happened to Job. He didn't curse God. I never, through all of this stuff that was going on, I never said, God, you don't love me. You hate me. Why are you letting this stuff happen? I'm going to, turn the other way. Nothing. I just knew it was a higher power, because God has shown himself to me throughout my life. And those things were coming back to me. It was like he was constantly reminding me, like, Brittany, remember when I saved you from this? Remember when I protected you from this? So I'm like, I feel like it's a heavy entity on me or something like that. But I know God is real. So whatever this is, I know God can make it go away. And I was just praying about it, like, God, please let it go away. Please let it go away. But now I have an interest in the Bible so crazy. So now that's my main focus. Now that I've read the book of Job, I'm like, I am Job. That's how I was feeling. Like, I am Job. Like, if he delivered Job, he's going to see me through this. You know what I'm saying? And then not thinking that I really wanted the rewards at the end, like a bigger house and nothing like that. Because when you're in spiritual warfare, you don't care about none of that stuff but getting out of spiritual warfare. You don't care about nothing materialistic, none of that. I just wanted to sleep. I wanted to be able to protect my children, and I didn't want to die. So I'm not thinking about none of that other stuff. And that helped me understand that those things don't mean anything to God, and they shouldn't really mean anything to us either. But we here in the flesh, so sometimes your flesh get in the way. But God literally brought me to my knees. So then I started like looking up, when I couldn't sleep before I even started reading the Bible, there was this prayer on YouTube that I would play every day. And it was like pray and cast off spirits, like demonic spirits and entities. And I literally didn't even know how I found this video. It just popped up one day and I just kept playing it. When I tell you I played this so much like a mantra, like I played it every time I would feel heavy, like if it got too bad, I would play this prayer. Whew. I literally felt like chains was being broken. Like I just felt like I could breathe a little bit. It'd last for a few hours. But then I like started to develop my own prayer life. And I would look on YouTube and I started stumbling across people that was prophetic. And they would say like, you're not stumbling across this video for no reason. You're not stumbling across. And I'm like, I'm literally not, because the things they would minister about or prophesied about, I already knew some of those things in my spirit. And like God was revealing it to me in scripture. And some of the stuff I needed to hear for encouragement. So they just like played a major role to the point that I started listening to them so much. I started off listening to quite a few people, but Sarah Blade one time, she said that I had itchy ears or something like that because I started to listen to prophetic words so much. I think at that point I started getting away from the Bible because I'm starting to feel back to myself again. And she was like, itchy ears is when you're always constantly listening to videos and stuff like that, but you're not really seeking God and staying in the word. So I felt conflicted and I went back to the Bible. And then like God would just talk to me and reveal things to me to the point that not only was I excited and things in the spirit, but I literally, my hand would just go off the hinges and just write. Like he'll just start downloading stuff to me, and I'll just write. Like then I start having dreams. I always been a dreamer, but I never knew what they meant. Like I never knew. Like even some of my old dreams from a kid, even some of the dreams that I had and the thing came to pass, I was able to go back in memory. And if anybody know me on this app, like if you're watching this, you know me, you know my memory is like nothing. Like I can't even, you would tell me your name right now in about 15 minutes I'm gonna ask you again. That's how bad my memory was. So I was literally remembering dreams from years ago. Like, and he was showing me like, remember this dream and remember this came to pass. Like he was showing me that I was a prophet. And I was like, no, I know I'm not a prophet. Like these people on YouTube is prophets, but like I always had dreams my whole life. So I'm going back and forth like, oh, I'm having dreams and this stuff is happening. I literally started thinking I was crazy till I read the Bible one day and God revealed to me in the Bible that I was a prophet. I literally felt him speak to me off the pages and I was like, this is what I was called to do. That's why he had me go read the book of Moses, because Moses was afraid to accept his assignment and he was afraid to speak because he had limitations on how he speaks. And so did I. Like I hated hearing my voice and I hated that I stuttered. I stutter when I get nervous. I still do it. And I didn't know how to let the spirit like just flow through me. So it was just a lot I had to learn, but then like you would just keep going back to what he taught you from the beginning when he first called you. Like a lot of things are gonna come together like a puzzle. That's why a lot of prophets say I prophesied in part. I've been so scared to get on here and prophesy some of the dreams I've been having lately. But I know like God is leading me to do these testimonies first, because in these testimonies, somehow, some way, it's gonna fit like a puzzle and it's gonna have me tell you guys some of the prophecies that I know of. Like I slept on some of them, but I know now it's time. Like I just know like I just felt a shift happen before I made this video. Walking to my car, I just felt my spirit just change or something. Like it happens to me a lot, but I felt it so heavy. And I was like, God is calling me to make a video. I don't know what I'm gonna say. And I literally opened up my Instagram account and it's this guy, he's a young guy. His name is Jalen C. I can't remember his last name, but I just literally posted a post from him and he was talking about how God touched him. The same, his story is so similar to mine. And I was like, that's what God wants me to talk about. He wants me to start telling my testimony of what led me to Christ. Because when I give my testimony, it's going to help you that's watching this video understand how God works, what he's trying to tell you, what he's teaching you, and that you are not the only one. Like, I remember I looked at this post and it said, what led you on your spiritual journey? It was like a pretty popular page, a spiritual page, and everybody in the comments was like, a heartbreak, a heartbreak, a heartbreak, a heartbreak. That was like a year and a half ago when I saw that. When I post things on Instagram that has to do with relationships, like a meme or like a post about knowledge about a relationship or something, so many people share it. You can see on Instagram when somebody shares your whatever you post. And when I talk about God, they only share, like, one person might save it, or one or two people might share it if they feel it speaks to their spirit. But if I post something about a relationship, it gets shared like 26 to 100 times. So God used the thing that everybody pretty much is out here yearning for, because he put it in our spirit to desire relationships, a clean, healthy relationship, to be married one day. Because that's the first story in the Bible, is Adam and Eve. Man should not be alone. So now I gotta figure out, I'm not gonna figure it out, I'm gonna wait till God tells me, but I want God to reveal to me, how do he want me to use my ministry to heal relationships. That's why when I first started this YouTube channel, that's what he was speaking to me about, like, the most. And then, like, he gave me the name Kanika Moore one day. That's another testimony. But when I looked up the word Kanika, I believe it's in Latin, but in another language, it means black. My name was already Amore from high school. I always used Amore on my social medias. And when I put the name together on a piece of paper, it was the craziest revelation to say Black Love. That was God telling me that I have to heal the men and women individually so that you could come together for your kingdom purposes. So I know there's a lot of people on YouTube talking about kingdom marriages and things like that. Like, that is the forefront, but there's a lot of backyard work we got to do, a lot of cleaning out we got to do before we can get to the front yard. But that was like my testimony for today. And when God leads me, I'm gonna get back on here. I'll be asking him, like, what do you want me to say now? Like, now I'm ready. Like, come on, God, let's do this. I'm ready. Like, I've been ready, but I was going through my own stuff, and I just felt in the spirit just now, like, that's my next testimony. I'm gonna tell you about that, like, what just happened to me that made me disappear. Okay, but I'm gonna get off here now. Y'all have a blessed day.